Hey, welcome back to the About the Labor podcast here at VikingsTerritory.com. I am BJ Reidell, back here with my guy, Drew Mahowald, and today we kind of got a slew of things to do today. First of all, we've got some good news for the injury report, so we'll start off with that. Just talk a little bit about Sam Bradford returning to practice and whatnot. Then we've got a new player, Stevan Ridley, former running back for the Patriots is probably the team that most people would remember him with. Talk a little bit about what he adds to the rotation and what chance of him seeing any action anytime soon and whatnot. So then we'll finish up with our picks for the week and maybe a little Friday Frenzy action as well. So let's get the word from our sponsor out of the way here. Black Stack Brewing, brand new brewery smack dab in the middle of Minneapolis, St. Paul, with a wide range of clean and flavorful brews and a massive bright tap room, perfect for intimate settings, all the way to special events. That's Black Stack Brewing, 755 North Pryor, just north of Menards, off of University Avenue. All right, so let's start with this injury report. Drew, there's one big name. Like I said, Sam Bradford is back at practice. That's big news. What else is there? And I guess what's the reaction to Sam Bradford being back at practice for the Vikes?
Yeah, Bradford's back and limited, which I think it's one of those where it's a good sign, but the limited tag is very iffy because we don't know how limited. We just see when the media's out there, they took videos, that just like a couple weeks ago when he was limited, where there's a video of him throwing like 2 passes, and then all the Twitter doctors can judge on, how much weight he's putting on his leg and whatnot. So it's obviously positive development that he's practicing. But I still don't think it really tells us anything. But it's definitely good news in that front. But Shamar Stephen not practicing, I thought was notable, and Anderson Dejo as well. I think if Stefan's back injury, which, those are usually kind of lingering things, if his back injury is a problem, you might see Jaleel Johnson for the first time in a regular season game this Monday night. And then if Sendejo is unable to play Monday night, that could be a problem because the Vikings safety depth is not exactly ideal. So it's just the things I took away. Otherwise, it doesn't look like there's anything for concerns, really. But again, with Bradford, I still expect Case Keenum to be the guy. And I think Bradford, the target date is week 6. And I think it should be because rushing it back on that turf at Soldier Field with a short week following is probably not the best idea.
Yeah, I also don't expect to see Bradford, but I do think this is encouraging. What it tells me, him being back at practice, that is simply that he's going to give it a try on Monday, see if he can go. Maybe that extra 24 hours means something. I highly doubt it, but maybe. Basically, I expect him to give it a try and probably end up giving the reins to Case Keenum just for discomfort or whatever it is. And like Drew said, that Soldier Field turf is, or whatever they have there, hell grass, I don't know. It's not good for anyone. So, I really understand that take and that point of view for the Vikings. I'm sure it's a weird thing to account for, but I feel like they probably would, especially with the guy with a history of knee injuries and whatnot. So, as for Shamar Stephen, back problems for big guys, never good, never.
No.
Obviously this is on the other side of the offensive line, but John Sullivan, we see what he's kind of been reduced to with all the back issues, and like Drew said, it's kind of a lingering thing. So. That's a reason for concern, especially with Shamar Stephen having arguably the best season of his entire career so far. So hopefully that's not much of an issue. And then Andrew Sendejo, like Drew said, him being out screws things up because he simply knows the defense better than every other safety option. His role is basically just to allow Harrison Smith to shine and just not screw up, kind of. He's not featured in any pass rushing roles. He's generally just your single high safety, or help over the top and cover 2, depending on situation. So he just adds a level of consistency, continuity, the word that we love, and just awareness that Jaron Kearse and Anthony Harris both don't have. I'm curious which one they would go with. I would lean Jaron Kearse probably, simply because if we think of Harrison Smith as a free safety, he would probably... I think I like Anthony Harris more just because he can handle the zone coverage a lot better than Kearse could, in my opinion. and then you get to float Harrison Smith around in the box. So maybe that is the better option. I think there's a case for both players. But yeah, this is for the most part, it's nice to see that, other than Dalvin Cook being on crutches, it sounds like the Vikings are getting a little bit healthier, and the healthier the better, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, you mentioned Jaron Curse, and I instantly thought of the Soldier Field game last year on Monday night, where I mean, it wasn't just his fault, obviously, but it
was a lot his fault.
Mainly responsible for giving Jordan Howard the opportunity to bust that 69-yard run open and give the Bears all of the momentum they needed to handily win that game. So I don't know. I guess I'd rather see Anthony Harrison there too, but I guess we'll see. And maybe we don't have to see. Maybe Sendejo's healthy, and that would be good. I would like to see him, and I would not have to. I don't want to have to worry about a Jaron Curse or Anthony Harris fiasco. Although it is Mitch Trubisky's first start, and all those receivers aren't anything impressive, but I think I'd much rather have Sendejo and run support against a very, very good running back duo in Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen, compared to Jaron Curse or Anthony Harris.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so moving on from there, let's talk about this new guy, Stevan Ridley. Obviously, he's a former running back for the Patriots, was kind of his heyday. He's bounced around with a few other teams, but for the most part, Stevan Ridley is best known as a Patriot, and his success there was, his success there was interesting because he was a consistently solid football player, but because of the system that they run in New England, everyone in fantasy football hates this because you never know which running back is going to get the carries. He was kind of a part of that. He was, I guess as close to a bell cow as they had back in, I believe, 2012 or 2011 or something like that. So he has potential. He has injury history that has hindered him. I guess, what do you think of the signing relative to other players the Vikings brought in, or just what do you think that he adds something good to this position that lost Dalvin Cook last week?
I think he's been really, really good as a pass protector. I think that's kind of where he's made his mark. So I think that does kind of tell me that the Vikings are willing to shift into a pass happy offense or pass first offense, and kind of if they need really to step on the field for big snaps due to injury or whatever, he can be in there and effectively protect the passer. So I like that. I am a little bit concerned about his fumble history, but he has been a consistent back when he's he's had several very good games when he's kind of been the bell cow, when he's been given kind of the workhorse load, when the Patriots maybe because there are those weird games with the Patriots where they just kind of randomly decide to hand the ball 40 times, and it usually works because it's the Patriots. And he's kind of been the main focal guy during those situations the last few years. So I'm okay with it. It's nothing special. I guess this is kind of what you hope for. It was either that or you add Bronson Hill from the practice squad or something. So whatever. I don't think he'll play a whole lot, but
I saw people talking about D'Angelo Williams as well. I think I would have liked that play a little bit more just because Williams has more explosiveness, and I think that's kind of the biggest thing the Vikings lost when they lost Dalvin Cook was one of the most explosive players on their team. And Stevan Ridley, for as consistent as he has been throughout his career, as solid of a running back as he has been, not really an explosive player, not a guy that's going to get to the edge and explode down the line. Tiptoeing to the sideline. So, I like the player. I'm curious about the fit, and it's tough to say how the Vikings are going to use Murray and McKinnon in a group with Ridley. So, I like the move. I think it was a necessary move. I think at the end of the day, the point that Drew made about pass protection being a strength for Ridley is probably the most important and key takeaway here. Is that he probably sees 5-10 snaps at the absolute max this weekend. Probably down the line, no more than 15 to 20-ish. A lot of those will be in passing situations, and it's important for him to be sufficient as a pass protector, just like the guys in front of him. We've seen McKinnon take step forwards in that regard. He actually had a heck of a block last week where he basically gave up the body. And Murray's been very good as that. That's kind of one of the main primary reasons why he was brought over from Oakland. So I think that's a really good point, and that's something to kind of keep an eye on here. But as far as Stevan Ridley coming in and saving the day, I don't think I need to say this, but he's no Dalvin Cook. This is a player that's
hot take there.
He's no Dalvin Cook. He's had injuries. He's never been an explosive player. He's a very solid quality running back that gives you solid, protection, solid up the middle, solid in zone blocking schemes, solid in man blocking schemes, and he's a disciplined player that I think fits kind of a Jeremy Hill type role.
Yeah, I mean that's the best I think the Vikings could hope for at this point. Is just a guy that's reliable. That's not just despite the maybe fumble concerns, he's not going to make many mistakes. I think in an emergency situation he can be called upon and he can execute. But I really don't think he'll make much of an impact. It's going to be like the Ben Tate thing, whatever. How many years ago was that last year? Ronnie Hillman was last year.
Ronnie Hillman was last year, yeah.
Okay, but I mean, he didn't play a whole lot either, so I don't think there's going to be much of an impact from Stevan Ridley, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't really see it either. So from there, let's jump into this Bears breakdown now. So Vikings obviously heading to Soldier Field. This is, I don't really want to do the team history section here, simply because the Vikings are historically awful at Soldier Field. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know what it's like the Bears have nudes on the Vikings whenever they show up at Soldier Field. I don't know why they play so. It's piss poor every time, except for the magic that Teddy Bridgewater had. And if you think about what it took to get that win, it took basically the only catch in traffic that Charles Johnson had in his entire career with the Vikings to get that victory at Soldier Field. So I don't know what it is, Drew. What are you thinking? Just on a team history kind of your personal vantage point. What are your thoughts on heading down to Soldier Field? Are you as kind of spooked as I am? No pun intended there with October.
I mean, not. I kind of. It's just. I do think the curse is a little bit overblown, and I'm kind of part of that. Where I kind of just. I try and find a reason to, justify the Vikings losing so many times in a row at Soldier Field. And that just seems to kind of make sense, but it's completely different this time around. I think there's no Jay Cutler. There's no, this team is using a starting quarterback, a rookie quarterback getting his first career start. You have a team that's overall very inexperienced, while there is some nice talent all around the roster. We've seen, outside of that Steelers game week 2, you've seen a lot of mistakes on both sides. So I think it's completely different. I think the Vikings have a really good chance. But I will say that if they can lose this game when it's a rookie starting his first game, I think then you have some serious, evidence to support the theory that Soldier Field has cursed the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, this is definitely a game the Vikings should go in and win, at least on paper. So, I mean, if for what it's worth, the Vikings are 58-52-2 all time in the series with the Bears. So, win or loss, they'll still be on top. Sorry for that, Bears fans. But let's talk a little bit about what this Bears team offers. What is going to make this a difficult game for the Vikings? Because, on paper, like you said, you're facing a rookie quarterback in his NFL debut. Granted, he's got the home field crowd and, all the support for the fans behind him, at least to start. This defense is somewhat, inconsistent on their back end. There are a lot of holes in this Bears team that keeps them from being more competitive. And with a rookie quarterback starting, you'd think that this Vikings defense would be able to take advantage of that. Now, is that going to happen? I guess that remains to be seen. But what are you seeing from Mitch Trubisky that, what is the reason why there's so much hype coming into this start here? Why are people so much, Mike Glennon wasn't good, but he did win, against a good team in Pittsburgh. He did some solid things. There are definite flaws to his game, but why is the Trubisky hype so high? And is that a reason for Vikings fans to be concerned?
It's high because of Mike Glennon. He did win that Pittsburgh game, but it was, and again, I've said this several times on this show that I think Pittsburgh is overrated. I don't think their defense is that great, and I know I'm saying this. It seems ironically because of how the Vikings did against the Steelers, but I think their defense is very unproven. Their secondary does not have any big names, and they don't cover well. They have some athletes up in their front seven, but then offensively, obviously you have the playmakers Brown and Bell, but outside of that, there's not a whole lot there, in my opinion. So that win was obviously, it looks impressive, but I don't think it was that impressive. And I think Mike Glennon actually played relatively poorly in that game. Jordan Howard was phenomenal in that game. The running game, I think he had 140 and 2 touchdowns. Tariq Cohen busted a couple big plays in that game. Really, this offense is run through those 2 running backs. So, that does help Trubisky, and that probably gives him a bit of an edge, and I'm sure that makes him feel pretty comfortable making his first career start. But I said this during draft season. I'm not a big Trubisky guy. I never was as a prospect. So, in that instance, and due to that, I'm pretty confident in the Vikings getting, having a pretty good day defensively. Being that Trubisky, I thought he was barely a first round prospect, if that. So I like the Vikings' chances, but I do get why the Bears fans are very excited about this guy, and it's mostly because of Glennon.
To be fair, Vikings fans were overjoyed when Christian Ponder took the field for the first time. When you've got a veteran that's clearly struggling out there, and your future is
it's not. When you get a quarterback that's struggling a ton, and it's this is how it is with every team in the NFL. If your starting quarterback struggles a lot, the backup quarterback becomes the most popular guy on the team.
Yeah,
through the eyes of the fans, and that's what happened.
And on top of the fact that let's just be real. Mike Glennon's not part of the future of this Bears team, right? This Bears team is 2, 3, 4 years away from being back to fully rebuilt. Ideally,
which I've never understood the idea of teams drafting a quarterback in the top 5, top 10, or whatever, even top 20 picks, and then sitting him behind a journeyman quarterback.
Yeah,
I don't care how much you paid him. I don't care about any of that. If you draft a guy for the future, why waste time when you can get the guy on the field and get him real snaps right now?
I agree with your take. Just to play a little devil's advocate, I do get, making sure they're fully prepared and in a situation to succeed to start. Just because, I saw a take that I really enjoyed, but to some degree it's a little bit flawed, and it was that if you're not willing to start your quarterback as a rookie, from the start, because you don't want to harm their confidence, you probably shouldn't have picked him in the first round, because as a quarterback, your confidence shouldn't be shook that easily by one start.
No, absolutely not.
It's really, it's really important. This is a trait with quarterbacks. People talk about golf being a mental game. I know you'll love this analogy. Golf being a mental game, and you can't win at golf unless you're able to kind of stay under control. That's why you see certain guys, have a really great round one day and then just, not even know what they're doing the next. Guys like Tom Brady have been consistently just hold their stuff together when the game is on the line, and they've been doing it for so long. Even guys like Tony Romo, who had butterfingers early in his career, stuff like that, he wasn't shaken enough to have that ruin his career, right? And that's a kid that came out of Northern Illinois as an undrafted free agent. It's required for quarterbacks to have. You basically got to assume that all fans are like.
I know a guy fans. on the pup list, on the Vikings pup list, that does this pretty well. Keep his emotions in check.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's the quarterbacks. There are quarterbacks that get fired up and play really well. Tom Brady, honestly, is a guy that plays with a lot of passion, for what it's worth. But for the most,
but it's the same. It's the same every game, though.
Right.
He gets fired up for the same reasons. It's not like he's yelling at his offensive lineman or getting fired up at the play caller or throwing his helmet after a loss or something. He doesn't do that. It's just.
Yeah, it's generally speaking, this is a position that is fairly mellow. You see the way that Sam.
You have to be. You have to be a model. Right. You have to lead by example.
I would agree.
You can be a vocal leader, like for instance Jameis Winston, but you also have to be a leader by example.
Yeah, you need to be disciplined. You need to be able to.
Especially when you have personalities that much deeper.
You have to embody that discipline on. If you are a high energy personality like Jameis Winston, you have to also be able to sort of be the embodiment of what the discipline, I guess what they teach in terms of discipline for your franchise. So, I think Mitch Trubisky, for what it's worth, I think he has all these intangible traits. I mean, obviously, I wasn't in the psychoanalytic room where they asked him a bunch of questions that, supposedly correlate to certain types of meaning. So I don't know for a fact, but he seems like a good kid. He seems like a smart kid. He seems like a kid that plays with, pride, passion for the game. I still love Deshaun Watson, like, considerably more. I remember going through the draft, and it was the entire time we'd want to talk about quarterbacks. We were always just like, yeah, it's still Deshaun for me. I don't care about this. I don't care about this new reason for why we hate Deshaun. I didn't think Mitch Trubisky was even in his league. I see the potential. I like the ability to move on the run and throw accurately. That's something that concerns me in terms of what we've seen from mobile quarterbacks against the Vikings defense in the past. But overall, I don't think he's he's not the problem this week. You want to contain him, but you're not worried about him, I don't think, compared to other positions.
Vikings shouldn't be worried about him.
No.
When you have Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen to deal with first, you worry about them.
Right.
Because looking at this receiver core, they've had three guys play a majority of those snaps, and it's been Deontay Thompson, it's been Kendall Wright, and it's been Josh Bellamy.
Yeah.
So three guys you probably haven't heard of before.
Marcus Wheaton has been in there as well.
Wheaton, and then Kevin White. I mean, he's injured now again.
Yeah.
So,
what else is new?
It's been those guys essentially, and then at tight end, you have Zach Miller, who I think is underrated, but then you have Deion Sims, who's essentially your run blocking tight end. So, I mean, the weapons outside of running back probably worse in the league. I mean, what kind of receiving trio is that? Like,
it's not good. It's
a JV receiving core. Like I can't imagine one of those guys winning against Xavier Rhodes.
Right.
Like you.
Yeah, I mean this group is composed. It's an island of misfit toys, is what it is, really. Kendall Wright, essentially,
right, yeah,
I think it's fair to call Kendall Wright a bust at this point. I mean, he's a solid player that's going to get pension in the NFL. Good for him, but he's not living up to first-round status. That's kind of what his career is now. He's by no means number one. He's like a number 3 on most teams.
These guys are ranked PFF. I'm looking at the PFF grades right now. PFF has them. Their top 3 receivers ranked in the NFL, 67, 68, 77.
Yeah. I mean, this is a very mediocre group, so you're not worried about them too much, which, that's good. Obviously, it helps a rookie quarterback if he has a receiver that can, make catches happen that probably shouldn't, and I don't think he really has one of those targets. Tight ends included. Zach Miller's a good player. I think Adam Shaheen will have a solid career. I don't think he's there yet, though, so I don't see a primary option. Trubisky's going to have to be smart with the football, go through reads, find the open guy as opposed to, the Calvin Johnson huck it up in the air and bail you out type thing. So, honestly, kind of the Case Keenum thing that he's been doing lately. Case Keenum's been kind of hucking it up there and just hoping for the best as well lately. So, Trubisky's not the problem. The receivers are not the problem. The offensive line is solid. You see Whitehair at center, Josh Sitton, the former Packer, at right guard, and Kyle Long, one of the funniest and better interior offensive linemen, and just overall versatile offensive linemen in the NFL. Those 3 are very, very good. But the 2 bookends, Bobby Massey and Charles Leno, not a problem for guys like Danielle Hunter and Everson Griffin, in my opinion. So that leaves us back to where we kind of began with Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen. These are your primary guys. Make sure you know both of these guys' names, because this is if you're sitting at the Vikings game, these 2 names are going to pop up a lot as like the summary announcement following a play. You're going to hear Howard for 4 yards, Tariq Cohen 5 yards, stuff like that over and over this week, because these guys are going to get a ton of touches, especially with the rookie quarterback in there, and they are pretty good. Tariq Cohen has earned the name Human Joystick. We're going to talk. We're going to do some film on him on Sunday ahead of the pregame show, which will be a lot of fun because he really puts a fun game on tape to watch. He's an exciting player, and honestly, the Chicago Bears team doesn't have many exciting players. So for Cohen to be doing as well as he is, as a 4th-round pick, kind of coming out of nowhere to be a very explosive and just versatile, kind of just a crazy wild card threat. He's a wild card. That's really what he is.
Yeah, he's Darren Sproles. He's the new Darren Sproles, what he is. And I think when he's in the game, you can pretty much tell what he's going to do, because he's on hits looks like 114 snaps he's been on the field for the season. He has blocked for 4 of them. He's either gonna get a handoff, most likely more of an outside run. Just his frame kind of gives him a disadvantage in between the tackles, or he'll line up in the slot. He'll be in motion. He'll do all kinds of things. But the Bears will generate touches for him because he cuts on a dime. It's unbelievable the way he cuts. And we saw how Eric Kendricks tackled last week against Amir Abdullah.
Can't do that this week.
Tariq Cohen is a similar type of runner where his jump cuts and his ability to change directions is off the charts. So that is going to be a matchup problem, I think, for the Vikings.
It's ridiculous because you talked about on the last show with Amir Abdullah and the cutback running. Well, that's something that Tariq Cohen thrives on. His ability to read a hole, get there, think that, essentially decide in a split second that hole's not going to bear fruit and go somewhere completely different. We've seen him do this like multiple times this year. It's truly impressive how much speed he can generate within, a blink of the eye, basically off of one cut, laterally or north-south. So
it's video game glitch acceleration.
It really is. It's so impressive and it's so much fun. Bears fans have to love this dude because, as I enjoy watching him play. As a Vikings fan, and I'm just here to tell you he's going to be a problem for a long time. I hate him, but I love him. I'm just imagining the type of damage that pass catching running backs have done to the Vikings in the past, and this does not bode well. Let's put it that way.
Right, and then you counter him with Jordan Howard, the bell cow, who he's kind of a bruiser, but he's a finesse runner, very good vision, and I think he's a very, very good complement to Tariq Cohen. A lot of times these guys are kind of going to interchange with each other. I feel like it's rare that they're on the field at the same time, which I think they could really the Bears could put some dangerous packages together if they did do that, but for rest purposes I get that, but they will interchange for the most part, and either way you have a running back that is dangerous and is their most explosive weapon. So against the run purely this year, the Vikings have been pretty good for the most part. Obviously, Detroit last week was shaky, but the 3 weeks before that, they were very good. This will be I'm trying to think because I feel like every week I say something about this is the toughest test, this is the toughest test, whatever. But the combination of Cohen and Howard it's got to be the toughest running back test of the year outside of Le'Veon Bell in Pittsburgh week 2.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Jordan Howard, I feel like I personally don't give him enough credit for how successful he is. He's just kind of a blah runner that, he gets you the 4 and 5 yards that you need, but he doesn't make it look good. It's just never he's not a guy that would look good on a poster, right? He doesn't have a Heisman pose. Yeah, he's not flashy at all. He's very serviceable, very solid. I don't think he's elite I really don't think that Jordan Howard is significantly above average in any one thing. I think he runs between the tackles very well. I don't think he gets the outside great. He's an average outside rusher. Pass protection, fine with me. He gets the job done for the most part. And as a receiver, it's fine. He's not he's not crazy. Nothing jumps off the page for me with this guy. And I'm just here to say that it's somewhat unfair of me to say that, but because he has been so productive, and he's been productive against the Vikings too, which makes this all the more ironic if you're listening to this for the first time and thinking I'm out of my mind. But I don't see him as a major threat. I think of him as a good player that keep an eye on him. He's going to do some damage, but he's not going to win a football game. He's not going to. I'm just not that impressed. That's what it comes down to. He's good, but I'm not that impressed.
Yeah. Right, and I think moving on to the offensive line, I think this unit is I think it's serviceable. As far as run blocking goes, I think they're pretty solid. But I think I'm looking at these PFF grades, and Cody Whitehair's pass block grade. I don't know if you've seen this.
Mm-mm.
It's 12, and it's 12, and he has 159 pass block snaps under his belt this year.
Wow.
Which last year he was graded overall 85.9. He's 37.8 right now this year.
12.
But his pass blocking grade is 12.
Wow.
That is baffling to me. So, I mean, and again, I you could say what you want about Pro Football Focus. I think it's a cool tool to use as one piece of evidence in your reasoning if you're making your argument. It doesn't obviously tell the whole story, but the fact that his pass block rate is 12,
it gives good context. I mean,
yeah,
you might not
means
agree.
He's not doing something right.
Yeah,
most of the things he's doing are wrong. Actually.
Even if you really disagree with their take, you're still probably saying he hasn't been good this year, right? Like it gives you good context as to the situation, how he has played, and sounds like not good. The two bookends on the corners, they're not good either. I don't care what the PFF grades say for that. I'm just telling you straight up, neither of those players are good. And I'm not worried about them. I think that Everson Griffin and Danielle Hunter will put on a show, assuming that the Bears don't, do a ton of quick drops to get Trubisky in rhythm, which I understand and could see the Bears doing, but at the same time, part of his game is being able to extend the play, so I can see them dropping him in 5 and 7 step drops as well, get him out of the pocket, let him throw on the run, show off that accuracy that he supposedly has. I guess we'll see how that works, but I think this offensive line is subpar, and I certainly think it's a unit that the Vikings could really do some damage against. So moving on to the defense, starting with their line, this is a 3-4 suit. I'm a big fan of Vic Fangio. I pretty much say this every time we talk about the Bears. He's one of my absolute favorite defensive coordinators in the NFL. I think he does an absolute heck of a job. I really think that this unit as a whole, we talked about this when we did our NFC North reviews, 2 months ago now, something like that. And there's a lot of talent on here kind of just sprinkled throughout. And they're really just I think they're kind of a shutdown cornerback away from being a very, very solid unit that's fairly complete and has a lot of, high upside players. That starts right at the defensive line. Akeem Hicks is probably one of the more underrated players in the NFL. I think that even myself, I'll admit, I don't give him enough credit for how good he has been in a 3-4 scheme. It's not easy to do what he does. Eddie Goldman is one of my favorite 3-4 nose tackles in the NFL. And then Mitch Unrein is Mitch Unrein. I don't have anything nice to say about him, but Jonathan Bullard behind him is a beast. So I am a big fan of Eddie Goldman. I think he's a wrecking ball out there. And you generally are going to see Leonard Floyd, the linebacker, dropping down, possibly having his hand in the dirt or lining up in 2-point stance to attacking off the edge. So what do you think of this front line here for Chicago, and do you see them being a worthy opponent to what has been a very impressive Vikings offensive line?
It's definitely a worthy opponent. There's talent there, and I think again, there is some chemistry, some communication, some understanding of the playbook that still has to happen here. I think there's been a lot of injuries, there's been some suspensions, there's been some things that have kind of played into their front seven not quite getting the continuity together, which, we talk about that with the offensive line a lot, but I think it's important too defensively. So, it's definitely going to be a challenge. It's nothing that I think I would say Detroit was a stiffer challenge. I would say that Tampa Bay was probably a stiffer challenge, but it's not like these guys are, scrubs. Right. Leonard Floyd can rush the passer with, he's got some serious potential. So, it's going to be a tough task, but again, from what we saw last week, from especially Reef and Remmers, I can't imagine that they would have much trouble. But again, who knows the Soldier Field with that turf? Things can obviously go awry because they have in the past. Yeah,
this linebacker group, 3-4 units are sometimes better explained by instead of separating the 4 and the 3 as we do with the 4-3 scheme, grouping it together as a 7-man unit because Fangio is so creative and exotic with his blitz packages that you're going to see all kinds of action from the linebacker level, stunts from the defensive line level as well. So a lot of these guys, Willie Young, you'll see on the line of scrimmage. Leonard Floyd, I mentioned before, you'll see him on the line of scrimmage. Pernell McPhee, you'll see on the line of scrimmage. I believe Sam Acho as well. I don't know if he's been used much this year, but he was used that way in the past. So they're going to throw a ton of different looks here. The main threats, in my opinion, are Willie Young and Leonard Floyd. Leonard Floyd primarily is the guy that, he's the one you want to stop here. Willie Young is a good player. He's been very solid this year, but he's not he's not a type of guy that can take over a game. I think Leonard Floyd has that type of potential. I like to compare Leonard Floyd to Anthony Barr, despite the scheme differences. I think their physical build combination with athleticism is very similar, and he's a guy that just kind of needs to fill out a little bit, and he could become a sack wrecking ball very soon here. So I'm impressed with a couple players at this level, and just overall, I'm impressed with 2 or 3 guys from this overall 7-man front that they're going to be bringing out here. But kind of, I guess my question off of that is simply, are you really afraid of this linebacking unit?
Not now. I mean, Jarrell Freeman's going to be out. I think he's done for the year, I believe, with some injury. And then Danny Trevathan is suspended after the Devontae Adams hit. So you're going to have, those 2 linebackers, when healthy, that's a very, very good duo in comparison to the rest.
One of the best interior linebacker duos.
Yeah, the Vikings are able to avoid having to play against those 2 guys. And now you're going to get, Christian Jones. You might get, let's see, who else would it be? John Timu. I don't even know who these guys are. We'll see. But from what I know about this unit, I feel like, it's a good starting point, I guess, to go off of for the Latavius Murray era in Minnesota as a running back. I feel like this would be a pretty good start for him, not only as a rusher but as a receiver, and for Kyle Rudolph in the passing game as well with the underneath stuff.
This defense really does look a hell of a lot different with Danny Trevathan and Jarrell Freeman out. With those 2 guys in the mix, you have 3 all-pro caliber potential linebackers in your 3-4 scheme, which is monstrous. And then Eddie Goldman out as well, Akeem Hicks being very good. The whole team really looks different. This defense without those 2 guys does not look that imposing to me right now on paper. You look at their secondary, and I think it's a trash secondary, straight up. It's not. There is talent there. There are former first-round picks there. There is a guy there in Adrian Amos who I liked a lot coming out and have liked in the NFL so far. I wanted him to be the complement to Harrison Smith way back when he was drafted. I think Kyle Fuller and Marcus Cooper are flash players. They get burnt one week for 200 yards, and then another week they'll be very solid, so you don't really know what you're getting there. Bryce Callahan...
Did the Bears not draft the cornerback in this last draft?
I cannot believe it.
They
drafted a safety,
Eddie Jackson.
But I could not believe that they didn't draft the corner.
They didn't draft the cornerback.
Why not? Sherrick McManus. They
didn't have any picks because they traded 10 of them to get Trubisky.
Still, you had the 3rd rounder that you used on Adam Shaheen that you could have used and gotten most of those. How many cornerbacks did I have ranked in the top 50 this year? 12?
That's true. Yeah.
You could have gotten something. There's no excuse in my opinion. So, Sherrick McManus, garbage. Cravon LeBlanc, garbage. These are both guys that have been absolutely toasted by Stephon Diggs in the past. So, I'm not afraid of really anyone here. Marcus Cooper, like I said, is a flash player that can be solid at times. Kyle Fuller, I don't think fits this scheme well, so I don't see him as being a good player. Eddie Jackson is a brick wall that can lay the wood, but doesn't. He's too inconsistent. He's a rookie safety. He's going to make mistakes. DeAndre Houston Carson is fun, but he's not fully developed. He's kind of another flash-type player. And Prince Amukamara, I'll admit that I wanted him back in 2011 when that was the Christian Ponder pick, but he has not developed well since Nebraska. So the secondary, Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen can eat against these guys if they're getting good pass protection, which we expected, as we just stated, and obviously accurate passing from whoever's playing quarterback.
Yeah, I think the Bears got lucky when they played the Steelers because the Bears' running game was so effective that it was really good at keeping the Steelers' offense out the field for the most part. So the Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, they were not able to really get off the ground because the secondary is, they're scraping for anything at this point. Kyle Fuller is kind of their number one. Stephon Diggs knows a little bit about how to beat him from here, but go back to 2015. And then I do think I will give credit to Bryce Callahan in their slot. I think he's
got some athleticism. He made a highlight reel play once.
Yeah, he's solid. But I think one thing to watch for with him is I think Fangio will kind of sneak him in off as a blitzer from that slot there. Kind of usually a couple times a game. So that'll be one thing to watch for there. But again, this secondary, it's a good. it's a very nice recovery from Detroit, because I think you're looking at opposite ends of the spectrum there. Detroit's borderline elite secondary, and Chicago's youth and immaturity, I would say. It's a good rebound opportunity for Case Keenum.
I would completely agree. This isn't a unit that forces a ton of turnovers. They're not dangerous. They don't make a ton of sacks. This is a unit that the Vikings should thrive against. Simply put. And if they don't, I don't know. I don't know what to say, because it looks really, really good on paper. I don't think there's a whole much of an argument for the Vikings not coming out and putting up at least 250 passing yards on these guys. Case Keenum, Sam Bradford, I don't care. Kyle Sloter, it doesn't matter. I really don't think the secondary. Yeah, Tavares Jackson. I don't think the secondary is good. And maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe, Bears fans will find this and throw hate mail into my Twitter account. But I don't see it. It's not. I'm sorry. I don't see it yet with the secondary. It's just not there yet. Maybe in a couple of years, I think this defense is close. It's not there yet, and there's a reason why the Vikings are favored to win this football game on the road against an NFC North division opponent. It's because they should, and this is one of the reasons why. So from there, let's do a little Friday Frenzy action here. Talk about, give me what's something you're thinking about just relative to the rest of the NFL, what you're seeing, something that's caught your attention, good, bad, something in the middle, whatever it is.
I think there's a lot. I might have said the exact same thing last week, that there's a lot of parity in the NFC. If I didn't, I'm going to say that again, that there's a lot of parity in the NFC. I think... look at the NFC North. I feel like Vikings, Detroit, Green Bay are all very solid candidates to win the division. NFC East is always, I feel like all four of those teams every year until about week 12 can win the division. I feel like it's the same this year, outside of New York Giants, I guess. But and then, NFC West, I feel like you could have a 7-win team, 8-win team win that division at this point. Although the Rams, they're coming out of nowhere to be for real. Jared Goff looks decent now. And then, how do you feel about the New England Patriots?
That was what I was going to say.
They barely squeak past the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They should be 0-3 at home, if not for that lucky play against Houston. And they just lost to Carolina, who had looked ugly prior. I don't know what to think about the New England Patriots, which it's weird, because I was... it's weird not assuming that the Patriots will be the AFC champions. And this is kind of the first time in a long time, anyway, for me, where I've thought that the AFC might not belong to New England.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when you look at, teams like the Chiefs, for example, who are playing tremendous football. You look at teams like the Steelers, who have so much talent across the board, and, if they figure a few things out, that offense could lead them a long way. There are some good AFC teams this year, and a lot of them are going to be able to contend with the Patriots. I honestly think that, first of all, I want to say that the Patriots being,
Denver, if Trevor Siemian can be consistent, Denver is a very, very good candidate to take the AFC.
I'm fine with that as well. That defense is absolutely stacked. I think that, first of all, I agree with the people that say the Patriots being on a level playing field with everyone else. I believe that is a really good thing. It gives teams hope, beyond December. So that's it keeps fans involved, and we can even see it from like our podcast download numbers. The waves of up and down. When the Vikings are trash, the download numbers go way down.
That Colts game last year, our numbers were brutal afterwards. Nobody wanted to
and we don't. And honestly, I don't blame you guys. We didn't want to do the recording. But the point that I'm getting to here is simply that I think it's really good for the world that the Patriots are, they look very beatable, like a reasonable team. It's enough to think that a reasonably solid team like the New Orleans Saints or something like that could pull one out against New England this year. I just don't think that they're good enough at home. Tom Brady has been Tom Brady for the most part, but he's I don't know. This team is just it's not as complete as it has been in the past. They were very good defensively, which is a nice change of pace. But I just think overall it's good for football, good for fans just in general, for there not to be a single power across the NFL, and just for Kansas City is probably the best team in football through 4+ weeks, I guess.
Yeah.
I think most people would probably agree with that. And at the same time, I don't think most people would say, I'm going to bet on Kansas City to win this Super Bowl. I think that's really good for the NFL.
we've been primed to believe the Patriots will come out of this fluke and surge to 12-4, win the AFC East by several games, which still could definitely happen. But there's a lot of holes on that defense, and I think Gronk's already hurt again. They already lost Julian Edelman. This is a different Patriots team. I'm not saying they can't get back to the Super Bowl, but there's a lot of reason for concern that this might be kind of the beginning of the end of the Patriots dynasty.
Ooh, that'll piss some people off if the wrong ears hear that, but fair enough. I mean, I think it's a really solid objective.
They've had 5 Super Bowls in 16 years.
They're greedy. They're
fine. They're fine.
I think it's a fair take. I don't necessarily think you're right. I'm not going to completely jump on board, but I think there's objective reasoning.
If
for
people
that
get
take.
mad at me for that, because I said, I'm pretty sure verbatim, I said this could be beginning of the end.
Suggesting anything
dynasty.
against.
I suggested that it could happen.
So suggest that's what happens when you suggest things that people don't like. They respond with suggestions that you should go F yourself. Whatever. My point being here is I
have a breakout game against Tampa Bay, and then the entire Tampa Bay fan base jumps
like that. I mean, it's a bold prediction, guys. It's a bold prediction. So moving on to our picks for the week here. Start off, obviously, New England and Tampa Bay played tonight. We know that New England won by a thread. Both Drew and I had picked New England successfully. On to the next one here. San Francisco at the Indianapolis Colts. Andrew Luck is practicing. Doesn't sound like he's returning this week, though.
No, he's not. For some reason, I'm going to pick Jacoby Brissett. I don't really know why, but maybe because they're at home. But I'm not. I don't have very much respect for the 49ers, and I'm picking the worst roster in the NFL to beat them. So
I hate both these teams. I'm picking the team that has the better coach to win this football game in San Francisco. On to the next one here. The New York Jets, who have surprisingly shown some life, which I think is hilarious. And then the Cleveland Browns, who have been dead for about 15 years. So who you got in this game?
Yeah, Jets fans are watching their teams tank, or their tank mode not work. Their method of getting a quarterback next year. Because they're going to be 3-2 after this week, I think, right? Yeah, they'll be 3-2 after this week when they beat the Browns.
I've got them being 2-3 after this week. I'm going to say Cleveland. Cleveland has to get a win at some point. This is a good opportunity for them to get their win. Jacksonville at Pittsburgh is our next one here. Jacksonville, when's it going to happen for them? Because I don't think it's going to happen this week.
They beat Baltimore by like 100 in London.
But that's
it. It's so weird. Like, how do you?
They're so boomer bust. It's weird for an entire team.
They trounced Houston. Then what happened? I don't even remember what happened in week 2. But then they went to London and just obliterated Baltimore, and then they come back and they lose to the Jets. So I don't really know what to think about them, and I'm still not high on Pittsburgh, but I'm going to go Pittsburgh anyway.
I am too, and I think you gave a good enough reasoning there to move on from that pick. So on to the next one here, Chargers at New York Giants. These are two teams that really need a win.
Yeah, and they're both going to do everything they can to not win.
Seriously.
I'm going to take the Chargers. I said the same thing last week about the Chargers-Eagles game, where eventually the Chargers are going to win one of those games where they should, and they give it away. One of these times they're going to win one. This is going to be it, I think.
You made the point earlier about how the NFC East tends to be a division that's not wrapped up until about week 12. Part of that is because teams like the Giants catch fire randomly out of absolutely nowhere and for no real good reason and just roll for 2 months.
What are the chances that the NFC East is decided by a Week 17 flexed game to Sunday night?
It's possible. It's always possible. It happens all the time.
Every year it happens, I swear.
Yeah. So I'm going to pick the Giants simply because I think they're so much more competitive than they've shown. That running game sucks. It's so bad. I feel so bad for Paul Perkins. That offensive line is bad too, but the Chargers are I'm going to pick the Giants, and I don't have a good reason why. Buffalo at Cincinnati. Another barn burner there.
Give me Cincinnati because I don't really actually believe in Buffalo yet, but maybe I should. I don't know.
I don't believe in Buffalo either, but give me Buffalo because they're playing well, and Cincinnati is...
They're garbage, but I'm picking them anyway.
Yeah.
I'm picking him because I want to grab another. I'm going to increase my lead on you. So this is a way to go.
Fair enough. Carolina at Detroit. That's two good teams meeting.
I'm sticking with the safe pick here, Detroit.
I'm going to take Carolina. Again, I don't really have a good reason why. I just think that Detroit is not as good as their record says, so I think that this type of loss evens it out a little bit. Carolina is a good team that has a lot of playmakers. I don't mean any disrespect to Detroit coming off of a loss. I just mean that Carolina is a very good team, and this is a losable game, so I'm going to pick Carolina. Tennessee at Miami is the next one here. Jay Cutler against potentially not Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, it'd be Matt Castle. So I'm picking Miami in this game because of that right there.
I'm picking Tennessee, and that 100% relies on Marcus Mariota showing up. I honestly, I'll be truthful with you guys. I didn't know Matt Castle was still in the league. I didn't know. I thought he was out like 2 years ago. Genuinely. Next matchup here.
You mean like 15 seconds ago? You thought you didn't know who the quarterback was. You thought
no. I found out last weekend when Marcus Mariota went out.
I was going to say that'd be kind of funny if you just.
He's on my fantasy team. Now. Yeah. Okay. No. On to the next one here. Arizona. Bruce Arians brings his depleted offense to Philadelphia. What do you think, Carson Wentz? Is this team real?
Arizona almost pulled off an upset against Dallas, but I'm going to stick with Philly here. Carson Wentz is doing enough with he's got a very good supporting cast around him, I think. So he's doing enough to keep that team winning, and he's going to keep it going.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't really understand Philadelphia just yet. I understand they've got some good playmakers. I don't think they're this good though.
They could be though. There's a lot on that defense. The offensive line's very good.
Yeah,
the running game is. I mean, LeGarrette Blount has kind of emerged, but like I feel like can you trust him as a week to week consistent performer?
Jury's still out with Philadelphia for me. I think this is a team that has a lot of potential. I think this team has the potential to go winless in October as well. So jury's still out, but I got them winning this week. Baltimore at Oakland. Two teams that probably had higher expectations than they've shown so far this year.
Yeah, I'm taking Baltimore because Derek Carr's hurt, and I'm pretty sure it's E.J. Manuel who is playing quarterback, so I'll take Baltimore there.
I'm taking Oakland just because I think Baltimore's trash, and I don't think Oakland is flaming trash. Where Baltimore, I think it's on fire now. It's been really bad. Next one here, Seattle at Los Angeles Rams. Fun game for sure.
The Los Angeles Rams cannot be this good, right? Like, there's no way. I mean,
this is a perfect moment for sure.
How bad was Jared Goff last year? And obviously the coaching change obviously has a lot to do with it. But he was so bad. So this fairy tale, this new, relationship between what's his guy's name? McVay?
Sean McVay.
Coach?
Sean McVay.
McVay and Goff. It's eventually gonna flame out, or it can't stay this hot. Seattle's the defense to slow them down. They're gonna get the win.
I'm taking the Rams simply because I think the Rams just have Seattle's number.
That's true. They always win like 9-6.
I don't know what it is, and honestly, they haven't been good defensively this year. So I don't think this is going to be as defensive as a football game as it looks like on paper. When you've got Aaron Donald going up against 8 Pro Bowlers on that Seattle defense. I've got Los Angeles winning. By the way, I'm going to refer to them as Los Angeles moving forward, and San Diego is. I'm going to just refer to the Chargers as San Diego because I think they're going back there. So Los Angeles, I've got them beating Seattle. I don't know what they have. It's one of those teams they seem to always beat Seattle. And they're playing at home. So Sean McVay gets the W. On to the next one here. Green Bay at Dallas. Aaron Rodgers against Dak Prescott, who, if you didn't see, Skip Bayless says is closing in on in terms of being relatable with accuracy out of the pocket to Aaron Rodgers. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, let that one sink in.
Aaron Rodgers is the single greatest talent at the quarterback position that we've ever seen. So that's a very, very bold statement, but we expect nothing less from Skip Bayless.
That's true.
But I will take the Cowboys because the Packers are very, very beat up.
They're vulnerable.
And I think, Dallas has kind of gotten off to a slow start here, but I think they bounce back here with a win.
I'm picking Green Bay. They are very vulnerable, but they also have Aaron Rodgers. So I think.
See, that's my reasoning every week, and now it's going to backfire on me when I pick against them.
Yes,
I can tell.
Lock that one in for BJ. On to the next one here. Kansas City against Houston. So Deshaun Watson has emerged as an absolute stud, saved the city. As I told you, you always watch out for football teams with hurricanes in their city. Seriously, I don't know what it is. It brings them together, and Deshaun Watson is proving that. So does he?
Yeah, it just took. I mean, because this was week 1, I think you said the exact same thing about the hurricane thing, and then the Jags blew him out, and then okay, maybe we should start Deshaun Watson, and here we are.
Yeah,
I'm picking the Texans to upset the Chiefs this week.
Okay, I think this is a doable thing for the Texans.
It's at home. It's at home. I'm pretty sure it's on Sunday Night Football too, isn't it?
Right.
So
yeah, this is why I think it's doable. I don't think it's going to happen though. I've got Kansas City winning the football game. On to the final one, Minnesota at Chicago. Give me a score prediction with this one as well.
I'm wary of the Soldier Field curse. I'm not a full believer, but I understand the lack of success. But again, rookie quarterback, a complete lack of credible wide receivers, a shaky offensive line, a secondary that is very unproven. This Bears team is very beatable for the way this Vikings team matches up. I got the Vikings winning. We'll go 23-13.
Dude, the Vikings have been the team to beat in this specific football game for like 9 months. I feel like since the schedule came out, we've been talking about how this is a trap game for the Vikings because it's Soldier Field, but we've also been like consistently repeating the line, if the Vikings actually lose to Trubisky
or Glennon,
either way, yeah, that's how it's been. So I'm sticking with that mindset. This is a game the Vikings probably need to win for what it's worth. This is another division game. Keep in mind the importance there. We probably haven't talked enough about how, that the relevance there. So they need to win this football game. They should win this football game, and I think they will. I'll say 26-10. I don't think that Chicago's really going to... I think this is a game the Vikings should win by a lot.
One last question to end the show here. I think this is a good one, in my opinion. Is this a must-win game for the Vikings, or is it too early?
It's October, so we're out of September, so it's now legal to say it's a must-win game. Yeah, kind of. Nah, I'll say no because you can go 3-3 and still find a way to win the division. I'll say no that it's not a must-win, but losing this football game makes Green Bay next week probably a must-win. So
that's what I was going to say.
In theory, yes, this is kind of a must-win game. If they don't win this game, I think you'll finally hear about me hitting the panic buzzer because this is really a game that you got to flex on this game. You got to win this football game. This is not a good football team.
My thing is, you cannot go 0-2 these next 2 weeks, or that is time to throw in the towel. So you have to win either at Chicago, or you got to beat the Packers at home. Again, these are divisional games, and you have to get one back after losing to Detroit at home. And I think B, looking at the second half schedule, lots of tough road games.
Yeah.
So you have to start winning at some point to kind of get yourself ahead of the way, I guess.
Yeah.
When you get off the bye week, and then you have 7 road games in a row or something. So the Vikings have to be you got to be, I think, above 500 going into the bye week 9, which would be 5-3. I think that's, you kind of have to be there, in my opinion, to feel comfortable about a playoff run.
I'm with you all the way on all of that. So that is the end of our show here.
Quickly, I would like to just point out that we did not get to. Well, we talked about Stevan Ridley, and I would just like to say at MattP_BU that our Stevan Ridley takes. He's not going to play a lot, in my opinion. I think that's kind of how BJ feels. So I just wanted to get that out of the way because we've been iffy on answering questions sometimes. So yeah,
there you go. Okay, so that is the end of our show. Make sure to check out the pregame show. We will be live at 5 p.m. on Monday, and also there will be a viewing party at Black Stack Brewing. Make sure to check that out. Get some of their excellent beer from there, and it should be a lot of fun. So make sure to join us at 5 p.m. Central Time on Shindig. We'll release the link on Twitter. That's Vikings ATL Pod. Otherwise, VikingsTerritory.com, iTunes, Stitcher, you know where we're at. YouTube, if you're watching this right now, make sure to hit that subscribe button wherever it is. I don't know relative to my body where that button is. So make sure to do that, and we will catch you guys hopefully on Monday. Otherwise, we'll see you on Tuesday for the Rapid Reaction Show. Thanks, folks.